Testing. 1, 2, 3. Why is that?
It's episode 4, season 2. We're back for another episode of FutureSounds FM. I'm joined by people, all the people, and not so many people this time round. It's myself, Patrick Fakeman, and Mr. Rob Dyson. How you doing, guys?
Good evening.
Hello. We're good.
Yes.
Hi.
You know, what day is it? We're filming this. Sorry, recording this on Tuesday. It's UK weather's been all right. It's been kind to us, so we're
It kind of feels on the edge of summer. We might be getting into something.
I said it feels like winter and summer are having a bit of a fight and a bit of a clash, and what we get is this kind of crazy spring.
Right, yeah. Crazy, yeah. And it's kind of dusk at the moment. It's kind of warm still. It's lovely.
You can't complain, really. I mean, what I'm enjoying is being able to come back from the office and go out for a walk with the dog, and it still be kind of a little bit light.
Yeah.
And not freezing my fucking balls off constantly, which is because our office is in a basement, no sunlight. Oh. So even in the summer, we're pretty cold during the day. You have to nip outside for a cheeky cigarette. And catch a bit of sunshine. Yeah, it's just everything.
Oh my
it's
God.
Nothing. It was an old taxi firm, basically. It's a nice little setup. We've got our own little office away from where Mr. Pac-Man does his thing, and where all the stock is kept and stuff. So it's perfect for us.
Have you not even got those little tiny, really little windows that go kind of across the top of the ceiling?
There's a door, and as the door meets the bottom of the stairs, it can kind of see where there might be sunshine somewhere.
Do they feed you through a little hole, and they push your food?
I'm not allowed to go home, until the job's done. Till every last order is packed.
They only hit me once a day.
Yeah, indeed. But we have, I know they like to say on the radio, less talk, more music. We have more chat and not very much music this time, because we are lucky enough to have had the chance, well, Thom has, to catch up with none other than XWAVES, who fairly recently now released the amazing album Peak Internet. I would say that I'm biased, but listen to it. Even Dan Mason said, he posted on our Bandcamp and said how he listened to it on a flight home, probably from Electronicon.
Timing sounds right, doesn't it?
Remember correctly. And just what a good album it is. It's an incredible album from start to finish. And Thom caught up with him in the studio, which was great. So most of this episode, the meat of this episode, as it were, will be made up of that chat between two lovely gentlemen
with a salad. Vaporwave. With a tomato, soggy lettuce,
like a roast potato or something. Myself.
Oh, that's better.
I think you're overstating our importance here. Well, what have we got? What have we got? What have we got to bring to the table? I suppose you better kick us off with some chat. About the event. Yeah, tell us about the new FutureSounds event, which is more of a synthwave. For those of you who don't know,
I'd like to think hopefully people do know, because we've been quite open and out there with promoting it. We are doing our third FutureSounds event that's coming this summer in the UK. We are still in London. We're going to do a bit of a South London touch this time. So we're down in South London for FutureSounds Miami 89. And you're right, Vince, it is very much a synthwave focus for this one. We've got I'm not going to go with headliners, but we've got in terms of the acts that we've got on, we've got the legend that is Futurecop, who's not done some live stuff for a very long time and has recently obviously released an album. We've then got Morgan Willis, of course, who we all know. There is then New Arcades, Adam and Dean, who are coming back from the first event to entice us with some new music. And then, of course, we've got, I don't want to call them the house band, but we're always going to include them because they're amazing. Iverson, who will always take the roof off of everything. And then, of course, we have a number of DJ sets that we're going to enjoy the evening. So it's on the 17th of June at Off the Cuff. Please hit either the Instagram or the Twitter socials for.
Well, the issue is we're having a bit of a problem with the website at the moment. It seems to be a fairly global issue with WordPress and generating new pages. But
don't go to.
We're putting it out there on all the socials.
Go to the FutureSounds FM Instagram or the FutureSounds FM Twitter, and there you will find the links to whatever you need. Of course, you can also find it on we'll pop it in the chat.
We can include it in the chat.
You can also find it on Twitter for Patrick Fakeman, as well as Instagram for Patrick Fakeman. Come down and see us 17th of June in London town. We're hoping it'll be a lovely sunny evening. The venue, I went and checked it out a few weeks ago. It's very much an inside-outside venue. There's a great bar area where we're going to do some DJ sets, and then you go through a little door. There's a huge area out the back for all the live events. Cool. So, and Rob was the
foodstuffs.
Foodstuffs. There is some kicking around.
So we're trying
for sure.
It's south of London.
South London.
It's not, in the back of beyond.
Yeah,
it's So what would you say, Rob? Rob, are you from South? Are you South London?
I'm down right at the bottom of the Northern Line, so I'm sort of sandwiched
What would you say?
Mitcham and
What would you say to someone who said that South London's scariest?
No,
we've
not at
done
all.
stuff in
Not where
Hackney.
we live. What are you on about? Exactly. Well, Hackney's posh these days, isn't it? Yeah, Tottenham was a little bit hairy, to be honest. I remember saying, well, no, I guess
you shouldn't have come in your Arsenal shirt.
Yeah, that was the problem. No, it was lovely. Nothing skip. We've lived in London most of our lives, all of us. We don't find it frightening at all. And I lived in Birmingham for 3 years, so geez, in the late 90s.
It's a good location, really nice venue. We've got a stacked lineup. We might announce some more goodies on that fairly soon. Great to have a chance to showcase the return of Futurecop to live performance, which is big. Flying over Morgan. That will be amazing too, because he's got... I can't say too much, actually. He's got an exciting vinyl project coming out on Timestamp Recordings. Just a little plug. I think you guys know what it is. I don't think you'll have... Yeah. I think the name of the event might give it away a tiny bit as well.
There'll be endless merch, one assumes, at this set of events.
I'll bring all the merch.
And for those who maybe don't know London very well, the venue is a short walk from Brixton Station, so it's South London. It's a lovely kind of green part of the city.
Yeah.
You're going to have a great time. It's leafy London. You're going to have a great time. It's our biggest event to date. We're really excited, and we can't wait to see you all. So come check out the FutureSounds FM socials. There you will find a link, as well as on the Patrick Fakeman socials. Pop on there, have a look and see, and you can grab some tickets.
For anyone who's not from the UK and is feeling a little bit frustrated by the lack of events outside of the Londinium area, we have been working on Flamingo Fest, and that is going to take place in the United States of America later this year. I'm not going to be any more specific than that, but we think we've narrowed it down to a location and a date, and we started working on the lineup, so it's real, it's happening. And we will be, URL becomes IRL. We will be
is it Wisconsin?
The fuck out of that.
It's Delaware. It's Delaware.
It could be Middle America.
Why not?
Delaware.
I've never been to these places, so I don't really know whether that would be viable or not.
Is it
but
Cheetah?
The first event, we'll probably pick somewhere a little bit more on the coast, and somewhere that has nice weather later in the year. So there's your clues. Shall I give a little update on the film? People might have noticed nobody here started putting some more socials content out. Fully aware that people are hoping to see the film made as quickly as possible, and obviously that's something that Chris is desperate to do as well. He does rely on filmmaking as his way of living, so while I can dip in and out of the day job to get stuff done, he's a little bit more sort of like as and when the opportunities arise. But we are planning to have a big session on this with the aim of having a cut of the film ready for later this year for an invited audience. We're making big progress. You'll see from the social medias at Nobody Here Film that I'm kind of working through all the interviews that we shot in America at the moment. I'm going through them, starting to timestamp key quotes and get the best bits together. And we are putting together a catalogue of bits that might make the cut for the final film. So progress is being made.
So close.
Looking forward to getting started on the edit soon. So keep an eye on the socials, because we are like kind of posting with that a little bit of BTS footage. There's a little video that went up today of me using a VHS camcorder at the Bay Show in LA last summer. And there's just, some stage photos of people being interviewed and stuff on location. So follow us to get a bit more of a taste of what's going on and be updated. We'll try and keep it as regular as possible, because I know people just want to be communicated with, and that's understandable.
Enzo, is there still ways ways that people can get involved if they want to support a project financially? Merch they can buy, things that they can do to contribute.
Well, we did just this week. In fact, Chris finished today. Pac-Man finished today doing all of the Echoes of the Past vinyl. But we have a small repress. When we ordered it in the first instance, we got a second version, which is a slightly more limited edition, 150 copies. I'll post a picture of that on socials in the near future. But that, again, same as all the other Nobody Here stuff, every penny of that goes towards making the film. And like I said, we were a bit fucked over by the pandemic, and things inflated in price. It is what it is. It is what it is. We're all giving up a lot of time for free. There's no financial gain. If anything, it's a massive noose around the neck that we're working day by day to free ourselves from. God. So if anyone wants to pick up the digital albums, there's 2 compilations out there. Every penny goes towards making the film as good as it possibly can be. It will be made, it will be done, it will be brilliant. And your support is always appreciated. And
both albums are great. Particularly that Echoes of the Past one is it's a fantastic group of music and tunes, which are just it's hard to describe it. That's why I'm mumbling. I really enjoyed it. It's a great concept.
It's just a nice concept, isn't it? Like kind of inviting contemporary artists to reimagine those kind of classic tracks that anyone who's in love with Vaporwave, we're familiar with all those tracks, and hearing people put their own stamp on them is interesting. It's kind of another
quite an innovative
re-examination of the sample culture.
You got any tapes left of that, Enzo?
I think there are a handful, a handful left.
I'm back in the market.
I thought you grabbed
him back in the market.
He's dusted off his Walkman.
Oh yeah, there it is over there.
No, I think he got the alternative art one as well, didn't you? The one that Chris designed. But
I've got I got the second one. That's right. Not the Echoes of the Past. I got the second.
For those that can't see, Rob is checking out his extensive cassette collection. That's just out of our view right now.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm pointing into the sky. Sorry,
this doesn't work as well in a podcast.
Just shake them or something.
Always lets me down.
I love to hear a cassette being shook around. There you go.
I've actually been moonlighting on another podcast today. Is that okay?
The thing
is, tell us about that.
I'm not sure, but convince me.
Is it Sirius XM? Is that the name of the platform? I'm not really familiar with it. I don't think it's available here, but I think it's like I used to use Acast, but they obviously got rid of the player. I use Apple Podcasts now, but it's like an app, as far as I can tell, through which you get podcasts, and they obviously commission their own series. And these guys are doing something called Obsolete, the mini disc, and it's a 4-part story. They've got people like Morchiba, is that how you pronounce it? Moby,
never heard of him.
Sasha Geffen, yeah, exactly. But they got and then they invited little old me to talk about mini disc, and it was a fun chat. They clearly know what they're doing. They're pulling it together in a kind of documentary style, and hopefully some of what I said will make the cut. We'll see. But I think it's an interesting story anyway. Like anyone who's seen the Tech Moan video on YouTube about minidisc and his kind of personal love affair with that, it's kind of interesting because us Brits kind of never realised it was a flop. It's seen as a flop, isn't it?
Oh, everyone in this house had mini disc players in the early 2000s.
I was the same. I had a portable one as well as part of a stack, and I just generally
like a separate.
The way I saw it is it just sort of faded out very quickly with the iPod and MP3.
The iPod killed it off. There's no question. They waited too long to kind of enable that re-recordable functionality, and by that point, suddenly people had iPods. And that kind of, just as it worked out what it was for, because I used to use it to record DJ mixes. So I used to just plug it into my Technics and away I'd go with a bit of jungle or whatever, and that was perfect for it. You can make mixtapes and stuff, So it's kind of interesting. Techmoan, the guy from Techmoan said, history is written by the winners.
Yeah,
and it didn't make it in America. In this case, with America, it might well have been the superior format to CDs in many ways because it was genuinely portable. You could go for a jog with a small player, and it wouldn't skip like a CD Walkman would. But over there, it didn't work for whatever reason. So they kind of see it as a failure. Whereas here in the UK, I think everyone I knew had one.
In 2000, 2005, maybe. Then it was tailing off. Maybe not that late.
Mini discs were much smaller, so it was so much more convenient. It could slide in your pocket rather than having to find a bag to put it in or whatever it might well be.
Exactly.
I love
carry loads of them.
Whimsical memory lane. What have you been listening to? I've been listening to Pizza Hotline's album Level Select because my copy of the vinyl finally came in from the people I pre-ordered it from, and it's beautiful.
That's a great album.
They've done a double LP, so there's kind of cut louder, 4 DJs,
nice.
2 tracks aside, and they've done a good job with it. Really pleased with it. And I've been listening to a bit of Vaporscape, the Soichi Terada kind of jungle game soundtrack that's out there. That's another brilliant album. None of it's new, but new to me.
New to me. It's always new to somebody. I'm checking out the new Zayas stuff. It's always nice. That new one, Faraway Feeling. It's quite nostalgic. Yeah. Sounds a bit like 2017, 2018 Zayas.
I love Zayas.
Nice, yeah, man. Like nice sort of chic style jingling guitar and some haunting soul vocal samples and nice big synth chords. So yeah, always check out the new Zayas. I bought this one.
There was
on the Bandcamp.
Nice. A couple of things from me.
What about you, Patrick?
From more of a future funky, disco-y side of things, I picked up a Never Dull. So the group are called Never Dull. They did a Luther Vandross Never Too Much remix that's a bit more future funky, a bit more kind of vibey. It's really good. And of course, nice. Without sounding too obvious, I've been smashing Weekend Rush since it came out.
Nice. Yes. I saw Lavenu replied to your message. Yeah. I just got the notification earlier on.
Is he?
Yeah, he said he likes the chill time flights.
He's of an age.
Cool, he's of an age, but also
he's a little bit older.
You can remember
us, me.
But let's be clear.
A vintage
vinyl mix that, Enzo, that you did. I've been thoroughly enjoying. It means I've been listening to your voice much more than usual, given that we chat regularly.
Yeah,
I'm enjoying it a lot.
That's freaky.
Well, if you haven't had enough from the podcast, then check out the mix. Yeah, it was fun to do because there's these guys, I used to have a lathe machine. I've probably told this story before, but they came around and borrowed it around Christmas last year because they do a lot of stuff. It's called Cardiff Vinyl Art, the Vinyl Art Company. They're based in Cardiff. And what they do is they use the same lathe that I had and they ended up buying mine. They do like things like wedding photos and stuff, and they'll cut it to a picture disc or whatever you want. Bands do it sometimes for one-offs, and they cut the tracks from the album quite a while ago onto a lathe vinyl, and I used them on my Technics to pull together a mix, and then did an MC kind of over it as though it were a pirate radio station, because I used to record those in my teens. And like just record over and over and over and over again, like pirate radio stations that were playing. It was very much a part of that culture. So Weekend Rush is about repackaging that era of UK pirate radio and that kind of breakbeat jungle scene, which seems to be kind of on vogue with
your MC.
It's very authentic.
Yeah, I was thoroughly impressed with your skills.
Yeah, and it could have gone either way.
It could have been shit.
Yeah,
I still cringe hard when I hear it. If you hear your own voice, it's just embarrassing.
No, completely. And because we know you, I guess listen to it at first, I was a bit like, but then I was like, go with it. It really works.
As I had him on in the shower, that's quite strange.
That's just odd. You don't want to be touching certain parts.
I'm showering. Numbers.
Do you want me to come and perform? I do bookings.
Oh yeah. Bring a loafer.
But I was really.
Inside the shower curtain costs more, obviously.
Oh God!
I've got a bonus. I saved up for it. It's fine. It's
holding a knife.
If you want me to serenade you with some bars while you're taking a bath, I'm open with
some bars while you bathe.
Without blowing smoke up your ass. I was impressed with your ability because some of the MC stuff you did, it was going on for like a minute or so. It was really impressive. Well done, mate.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. Thank you. And I should really, the most important thing is Thom and Jay being involved in the project as well. Thom did some amazing mastering work on it, and the three of us just worked together, bouncing all these ideas off. We've got some new stuff coming as well in that vein, which is quite fun.
And it got to what, number 1 in the Bandcamp jungle charts?
Vaporwave charts. Yeah, number 2 in the jungle charts. I think it got kept off by like a Photech repress or something. Which is no.
That's no bad. That's no mean feat though. Exactly.
What are you gonna do?
Fight with the master.
What are you gonna do? Yeah. I like the idea of junglists going onto Bandcamp to get their vinyl and suddenly being like, "Fuck's this?
What the fuck is this? Yeah, is this new? Is it old?
What is this? Who the hell? Who are 3-piece suites? Who are these suites?"
Scene in Human Traffic where he's introducing the guy to the tunes. You know what I mean, man? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Junglist massive.
You want to get this now because these guys are going to be on death row.
You got to listen to this shit in the shower. Oh my God. Hold it down.
Yeah.
Loaf it up.
Hold it down.
No. That is how you roll.
That's the way we roll.
Honestly, it's a really impressive record. I really enjoyed it. The vinyl turned up last week. I include a little sticker which is now comfortably placed on my laptop as well.
FutureSounds.
Oh,
There
beautiful. I'm still waiting for the tape Enzo.
Thanks for the praise. The tapes with the mix on are coming this week, so don't worry, mate. They're coming. I know you like to send.
He chats to me all the time.
Aggressive.
Yeah. Where's the shit? Where's my tapes?
Yeah. Where's my shit?
Yeah.
No, it's coming. The tapes are coming. We loaded them up with FutureSounds and Flamingo Funk, which are both tapes mini discs arrived today, so we'll get them out this week as well. So stuff's happening.
Double trouble.
Just takes a bit of time, loads of backlog, and it is what it is. We'll do our best to get it out as quickly as possible. People have been asking a lot about Pac-Man's Helios statues. We'll have some more of them as well. He's going to keep making them for as long as people want them. Basically, he's doing these concrete busts.
Are they bigger than this? And again, the listeners.
Oh no, that's a different one.
This isn't
I ended up buying that one.
You ordered this one, didn't you? I eBayed this.
I got that. It's a pen holder, right? It's a Helios pen holder.
For those obviously who are listening, Rob's just shown us a 6-inch pen holder we probably all have from eBay. Are they bigger than 6 inches?
Uncut is 7.
Every time I go for one,
I'd say it's,
they're gone. I don't know whether you're releasing them at 3 a.m, whether I'm probably just working, to be honest.
No, all it is that he basically what he does is he started out with a 3D print, so kind of like what's the word, resin or what have you. Generated that, created a mold, and then he can only do as quickly. It takes a few hours to set. It's kind of got to be finished off and sanded and stuff. They're concrete statues made by hand. He's a concrete artisan.
Has he? Has he got any other stuff?
Yeah.
Shower loafers?
He's been doing pillboxes. Apparently on his Etsy page, he sells a load of smiley face pillboxes. So if you need a box for your pills,
we are.
I should do it. Yeah, I'll link his Etsy in
They'll
the
be for
description.
sale in Miami '89 live in June the 17th. Get your pillboxes
with glow sticks, whistles.
If I could drag him out of Cardiff, I'd have him down there running his own merch stand. I'm sure that would do well, but we'll see.
We'll chip in.
So anyway, let's. We should. Speaking of good records, and thanks for the plug there, Labs. XWAVES.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
amazing album. Peak Internet. Another one of those albums. There's a kind of a trend for it at the minute. I've seen a couple. Obviously, Thom did his Wichita LimeWire album. Things that hark back to the peak days of internet when everything just felt like a new era of possibility and opportunity, and there's something optimistic about this record that really kind of feels like it sits well at this time of the year as the sun's starting to come in and the nights are drawing longer. I recommend anyone who hasn't heard it yet to get stuck in and mypetflamingo.com, have a little listen to it because he's a really talented guy. And obviously we had Thom, caught up with him in his studio last week for a chat, and they just sound like two lovely guys talking about something that they love. I think it's really enjoyable.
It's got a couple of good collabs on there as well. It's got like a track with Donal Lenz. It's got a track with Runners Club 95, isn't it? So it's got, and when those types of people are involved, again, it's a quality product.
It's going to be good. Yeah. We just heard the new Runners Club album as well.
Oh, did you? What's it like? Come on.
Listen, no.
Play
a bit on air.
Anything.
Oh man,
no,
well, I'm quite excited for that.
We might we might do a little plug of a track fairly soon, but we'll get the vinyl in progress first, because obviously as people know, the production takes a long time.
That's an obvious assumption. It's coming out on MPF then, or is he just sharing with you just because they wanted to have fun?
It is, we're working with them again.
Exclusive.
No. We're working with them. They're good friends of ours. It was amazing to see them play at Electronicon last summer, and just to see like them blow up and like hit hard as well. Like they were so well received. They're lovely people and a really talented duo.
And the FutureSounds event.
Well, duet?
I think that's what made it feel the nicer was they'd been seen through. Obviously, everyone knew who they were, but I think it was nice that they'd had FutureSounds to set themselves up for what was a humongous stage at Electronicon.
Yeah, right out in the sunshine. Perfect.
Oh, beautiful.
Big crowd.
FutureSounds.
Back on the other side.
Boom.
Cool. Shall I let one of you guys introduce it? Because I just do all the talking all the time.
Fakeman.
Can't stop myself.
Am I doing it? Should I go? All right, so here we go. Thank you for holding on for us, but here is Thom and his conversation with XWAVES. See you on the other side.
FutureSounds.
Hello. Oh, you got your English British accent on that.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, I'm here with XWAVES, with Leonard. He's come all the way from Sweden just to record this interview, which is very kind of him. No meeting up with friends, no going to West Ham matches, no booty calls, nothing, just for Future Sounds. So that's very kind of you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I'm really happy to be here. Absolutely. I've been checking out your studio. It looks amazing. I've been checking out your family. Yeah. Also looks amazing. In your house.
You into bath time.
Yeah.
Bedtime. Uncle Leonard in the house.
For sure.
Wicked. Well, it's so much nicer to do these in person than it is over Zoom or whatever. And it makes my job as the editor of this podcast much easier as well. Unless you say anything bad, right? Don't get yourself or us cancelled.
I will try. You know, we can get a little bit controversial here. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
just a little bit. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself as XWAVES and yourself as Leonard? You know, reveal as much as you want to reveal, or preserve as much mystique as you want to preserve.
Okay.
What's the history of XWAVES?
I mean, the history of XWAVES is basically that I've always wanted to be like a musician. I was a kid when my dad told me that, okay, you should choose a different career path because being a musician is complete nuts.
Yeah,
you're never gonna get. Yeah, right. and basically he was like, yeah, you're never gonna do anything with that. And basically what I wanted to do was to disprove him or tell him that no, it's actually possible.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was kind of like the main thing with XPEGs from the beginning.
Yeah.
And then it kind of moved into different directions as well.
What's the origin of the name?
Honestly, it's really strange. It's really strange because, you know, waves was kind of like a thing that was very trendy at a point where it's like people were talking about like vibes. I don't know if you did that in the UK as well.
Like if something's wavy or
yeah.
Okay, yeah, I got you.
So basically that was like a big thing, and I always liked the X because all the cool kids in school, they always had the X in the beginning of the name. So
oh man, well, I always go into these podcasts with like a pet theory, right?
Yeah.
My pet theory for this one is that you're like a trendsetter.
Tell me.
You're like a Nostradamus. So okay. So your trend setting in that respect is like the kind of X thing is like you were kind of referencing the kind of MySpace and MSN Messenger era before that became popular. You know, you think about someone like Charlie XCX, who's named after her MSN handle. You know, people used to do like X underscore.
Oh yeah,
you know, kind of like an emo thing, like a Y2K thing.
Oh shit.
So yeah, maybe you were doing that before it's cool.
Wow,
it was cool at the time, and then it stopped being cool,
yeah.
and then you made it cool again.
Wow, that's even better than my story. I should just cancel my story and just go with yours instead, man.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And how come you ended up making sort of vaporwave music or music that's associated with vaporwave under that name?
That's a really hard question. Mm-hmm. That's a really hard question. I think it was mainly because, you know, the music genre was something very new.
Yeah.
It was a place where you could kind of explore and do your own thing. Yeah, that's pretty much the main thing.
Were you making different music as XWAVES before you discovered vaporwave, or you discovered vaporwave, started making music that kind of sounded like a bit like it, and XWAVES was the name for that?
I heard like, and it's gonna sound very strange, but I heard like somewhere under like the lines on the internet somewhere that like vaporwave is like the new cool thing that you kind of have to get into, and I was trying to understand it at a point, and I didn't understand it. Yeah,
we're all still trying to understand it, you know?
Right. And
but it's kind of the perfect genre and home for people like us who are looking for a home, right? Like because I know people try to gatekeep it and say like vaporwave is this and it isn't that. Like for people like us who are doing something quite particular and quite personal to us, like vaporwave is the only home, really, isn't it? You know, because it's such a broad church.
Absolutely, yes.
Do you remember hearing anything in particular from other artists, like when you were kind of investigating what Vaporwave was? Do you remember what you heard and like when this was as well? What kind of year are we talking about?
I think I started out in like 2015. Mm-hmm. No, it has to be 2016. And I basically, it sounds like the typical story, but I just came out of a tough breakup with my ex, and we had been together for like 10 years.
Wow.
And so I moved in with my friend, basically. And we were just like having this moment of time where he had broken up with his ex. I was broken up with my ex, and I don't know if you have to cancel this and remove this from the podcast. But
Depends what you say.
We were doing a lot of drugs at that point, and just like exploring there as well.
Yeah,
and
it is kind of a perfect music for altered states, right?
How do you mean?
So, because like Vaporwave music, it does like weird kind of things with time and. You know, like it's kind of heavily kind of altered and processed and
for
unusual.
Sure. Yeah,
it's the kind of thing that can make sense. You know, when you're in an altered state, when you're intoxicated.
Very much, yeah. And it did from the beginning as well. Mm-hmm. And that's also like when I made the first album, Vaporwave for China, I was in a intoxicated state for the whole time that I made the album. Yeah.
Don't do drugs, kids.
Yeah, sorry. should probably be a better role model in this case.
No, for sure. I mean, I think that's. I mean, there's obviously lots of very clean living people in the Vaporwave scene. You know, as producers and fans and stuff. Like we've been doing Vaporwave events recently, and there's plenty of people who don't. They don't touch a drop of liquor, but then there are people who are like proper sesh heads as well. The music in itself is intoxicating, right? That's kind of the appeal, right? It's like a new psychedelia, isn't it? It's like you don't have to be, intoxicated to enjoy it because it has kind of woozy temporal effects.
Absolutely,
for sure.
Yeah, it really does. Just the way that music sounds is also giving you kind of like an intoxicating feeling, right?
Yeah.
I remember I was listening to I kind of forgot the name, like the Kmart album.
With the Power PC Me stuff.
Yes. And I was just going to sleep. I was listening to that.
Yeah.
And it was so intoxicating somehow because you kind of like getting
you're
these
drifting
visions.
off, right? In a dream state. Yeah.
You're getting these visions. You're going into a different reality, right?
Yeah.
So that was.
I think as Donor Lens, our most successful record is about a very similar thing. It's about this kind of late night shopping experience, this midnight store thing, this kind of you're in this kind of woozy like fog, like either because you're intoxicated or because it's just the kind of strange hours, post midnight hours. There was something kind of very universal about that theme that like that's why it's our most successful record. And then to an even greater extent, Power PC Me's had like a genuine kind of cult underground hit with that record because it really captures something so universal about how strange our kind of rituals are, our daily rituals. There's something very strange about shopping and about supermarkets. And what we were talking about just off air, like this idea that we expect everything to be always available, right? You were pointing to a palm tree in my neighbour's garden. You're being like, we're in London, it's really cold. Like, how is that palm tree growing? And then I was saying, like we go to the shops and we expect everything to be always available. Like things are weird when you think about them. And I think that's kind of what Vaporwave is, right? It's like, because it loops and it takes like things that are quite sort of commercial or familiar, like 80s pop songs or whatever. And it's like, if you hear this over and over and over again, it starts to get weird. Like when you repeat words over and over again and the meaning disintegrates and you're like, that is a weird sounding word.
Yeah.
I think that's the effect of Vaporwave, isn't it? Like this cliche, repetition legitimizes. Like, sure, like if you hear something over and over again, you can make sense of it. But also the opposite is true. Like when things repeat, they become stranger and more inscrutable, and you can kind of experience them in different ways.
Wow, yeah, I've never thought about it that in that way before.
Neither have I.
Yeah, that's
throwing some theories out there.
Wow.
Let's pivot because it's getting a bit cosmic. I want you to kind of paint a picture of what it was like being a kid growing up. So we're kind of similar ages, like in our early 30s. So what was it like growing up as a kid in Sweden in the 90s? I ask this because we were chatting to Cat System Corp, who grew up. Where did he grow up? He grew up in the Netherlands.
I think,
okay, I got confused because he's in Finland now, right? So he didn't have a Scandinavian childhood, but he had a European childhood. And I
hope we were not saying anything wrong right now.
No.
He's from the Netherlands, right?
Yeah, he's from the Netherlands. Yeah, I wanted to get that right. But yeah, growing up in Europe, we had a slightly different childhood to all the kind of producers who grew up in the States, right? Like, I feel like growing up in the USA is like the default childhood. And we had childhoods that were similar to that, but also quite different.
Yeah, and also I think people are growing up in different classes as well. Mm-hmm. I think that's the most, what would you say, like the most defining factor of your childhood. If you can afford to eat for an evening, or if you just have to like cook the same old spaghetti.
Yeah. What was your childhood like?
We were really poor.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had my mom. She was a single mother for 3 kids.
Wow.
My big brother, he was quite a problem child.
Yeah.
At that point, now he's a super nice guy, but at that time he was having a lot of difficulties as well. So he required a lot of attention.
Yeah.
And basically, we were all like 3 competing for attention, but also like how we were supposed to get money. And my mom was basically just a translator from German to Swedish.
Yeah.
So she wasn't from Sweden, she was from Germany.
Yeah.
And I mean, how she got by was basically doing like the translations. Mm-hmm. And it didn't really give that much money in the end. So we just had to eat like the same pasta for a week. And
what did that restrict your access to kind of culture and media and stuff? Like, did you have this kind of stereotypical 90s childhood of like access to video games and cartoons and toys and stuff, like all the kind of childhoods that we imagine this kind of picture perfect pre 9/11 sort of childhood, this kind of innocent childhood with access to Pizza Hut and plastic toys and you know what I mean? Like,
not really. We didn't. Like we never went out to any restaurants because it was way too expensive.
Yeah.
And we had Cartoon Network, but you could watch Cartoon Network on like this channels that you didn't have. So it was like the glitchy channels.
Oh, scrambled. Okay, that's very Vaporwave. Yeah. Signal wave.
Yeah. So, and that's basically my whole childhood, watching like cartoon on the scrambled TV.
Jeez, that's amazing. Like watching something through the fog.
Yeah.
So what I think Carl from Runners Club and Cat System Corp was describing was like this kind of growing up in Europe. We had like a delay, like versus like America. We were like the American stuff would arrive in Europe. We had it as well. Like growing up in the UK, I think American stuff would arrive, but like a year later or like a bit afterwards. We would get the sloppy seconds.
Yeah, for sure.
So that meant that like America, we would look to America and be like, whoa, they get all this cool stuff.
Yeah.
That, like eventually like shows up on our screens and stuff. Yeah, like we just had like this very idealized vision of
very
America.
much. Wow.
Because they get all the kind of new shiny stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know this is a Vaporwave cliche, but like it was really like 9/11 that kind of punctured that, right? Because it's like you when you're tiny and like all this American culture is so exciting, and you think like, God, America, that's where everything comes from, and then like something awful happens there, and then there's war, and like your childhood like abruptly takes like quite a sort of sharp turn. Yeah. I think like we were talking when we first met, we were talking about how like lots of Vaporwave producers seem to be our exact age, like early 30s, and I think like we had different childhoods for sure, but like the major events, like the ones that are kind of embedded on your brain where you remember where you were, like 9/11 and everything that happened after that, like we shared that. That was like a common thing, common to all our childhoods, no matter where you were.
And especially that feeling that you were describing before, Just like everything cool happens in the US.
Yeah.
I remember I had this kid in my class, and basically he went on a trip with his family to the US. And then he came back. He had all of this crazy stuff. Like he had Pokemon on his Game Boy. Everybody was like, "What the fuck is that?"
Yeah.
And everyone was super impressed because he had like stuff from the US, and nobody else had that.
It's crazy, like pre-internet, right? Or pre-internet being good, you had to physically go to visit this place to kind of bring the things back.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. We had strange childhoods pre-internet because we had to like use our imagination to kind of we were just kind of imagining what things were like.
Yeah.
You know, you couldn't just go on Google and be like, what is this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy shit, man! I'm like your what do you call it? Like my brain is exploding during this session because it's like you're opening up so many doors.
I like that you're calling it a session. It's this is actually a therapy session.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a very expensive.
I've noticed. I've noticed for sure, man.
Man. We've kind of talked about Europe and we've talked about America and like these kind of idealized versions of these places versus the reality. I guess like something that carries on to this day is like people's imagination of what Japan is like.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably the right moment to say, we're recording this like a few days after the news that Ryoichi Sakamoto passed away.
Yeah.
I mean, we would pay tribute to him anyway because his catalogue of work is kind of influential on everybody in our kind of internet music scene. Like, I've written a little piece for the FutureSounds website where I was saying I think like genuinely this is like the most momentous kind of loss since David Bowie.
Yeah.
In terms of like kind of independent music making, because he had an influence over everything that every one of us does, because his catalogue was so broad. You know, he did everything from incredibly pop stuff to film scoring to video game music to very, very avant-garde music, which, you know, our kind of synthwave, vaporwave, whatever, you know, that's the whole umbrella of you know, that's our whole universe. And Sakamoto has important works, you know, relevant to every single one of those points. But yeah, I mean, that's clearly true of yourself, right? Like we see with your Peak Internet album cover, you were paying homage to Sakamoto with that image of you kind of made up, weren't you? Kind of. I would say 50%, or maybe 30% to Sakamoto. Absolutely. So as soon as I saw that, it's the I don't know how to say it, Hideryude no Yume album cover. Like he's made up his face with white sort of kind of stage makeup in a very similar way. I mean, I guess it's similar to like Aladdin Sane as well, isn't it? Like the David Bowie kind of thing as well. Ooh, maybe, but it's not. It's Sakamoto. Not. Yeah, for sure. But it's not. It's not really Sakamoto. It's more like I had it. Like it sounds weird, but like my best friend in the world, he was like the hugest Sakamoto fan. He had like all the albums, all the LPs. He had everything. That's Sakamoto. Yeah. And basically the album is a homage to him. Yeah. To my friend, because he was such a huge fan of Sakamoto. So it's like indirect. So that when you say 50%, it's because there's an extra stage in that translation. Yes. I like that. It's very vaporwave. Yes. Yeah. We don't do things directly. We like, you know, there's one extra stage and it's this postmodern thing. You fill in the blanks. Yeah. Absolutely. I guess the other thing to say about Sakamoto is because his discography was so broad, like people find different things that speak to them. Because you were singing like one of his most well-known tunes, and you were like very surprised. Yeah, you know, I'm wearing a Yellow Magic Orchestra T-shirt right now. Yeah, and you were singing like a very well-known tune. Like, what was the tune that you were saying? Perspective. Yeah. So like that's a really well-known one that I might have heard, but like that's, you know, the things that I know really well are, you know, the early records and the kind of fun covers of you know, Day Tripper or whatever, and the Archie. What's it called? Tighten Up. Yeah. You know, and I know stuff like that. And I know like Sakamoto's work with David Sylvian and stuff like that. Yeah. But there'll be people who are working at the more kind of experimental avant-garde edges of our scenes, and like the stuff that speaks to them will be the more recent stuff that he was doing with Alva Noto. Yeah, no, very, very, very sad. I mean, he'd been publicly sort of battling illness for a very long time, and it wasn't a shock. I mean, because David Bowie passed away in similar circumstances, but he'd kept it very quiet, whereas Sakamoto had been kind of documenting his illness. I understand he did like a live stream only a few weeks ago, and he was unsure whether he would perform again or if he would be able to perform again as he did. So not a total shock, but very, very sad nonetheless. And I think, I mean, I genuinely think equal significance to Bowie on independent music making. And I think obviously not as well known as somebody like Paul McCartney. When Paul McCartney goes, it's going to be huge. Yeah. But there's still people to this day who say, "Oh, I don't like the Beatles," or like say that Paul McCartney's got some cheese in his catalogue, which for sure he's got some cheese in his catalogue. But I've never heard anyone say I don't like Ryuichi Sakamoto.
No.
I don't know how you could. It's crazy. I mean, just kind of how broad the ground he covered, and it's like just like ending up in the craziest places, like on Soul Train, having having like not one but kind of arguably two like breakdancing hits with Firecracker and Riot in Lagos and stuff. And also winning an Oscar. How many people have had like dance floor smashes and Oscars?
Yeah, it's completely insane what kind of. And here I'm talking about my friend, but of course, like this is terrible news, of course, that he's passed away.
Yeah, but I think just like a really important figure to us as kind of vaporwave musicians, because vaporwave has got like a pop wing, and it's also got like a very avant-garde experimental wing. Some producers kind of veer towards this kind of classical territory. Yeah. Ours is like a mini universe, and Sakamoto's discography is like a mini universe. Like there's big overlap there for sure.
FutureSounds.
I think there's we're kind of, we've got a lot more to say. I don't like musically. I don't think we're like at the end of our discographies, right? We're not going to call our projects a day. But I think like even across your two albums, like the kind of the range is huge. Right, so like I was kind of testing some of my theories on you earlier, that like a lot of the kind of different music that you've covered across Vaporwave for China and Peak Internet, they kind of presaged trends that are really popular now. So like I was saying that I hear kind of Barber Beat style things and stuff like Pool Day or O Piano off Vaporwave for China. Like you were kind of thinking to do this kind of down tempo kind of sax kind of 90s baggy beat thing. I feel like you were doing that like a couple of years before everyone seemed to be doing that.
I'm very happy to hear that it's catching on. Yeah. It's really cool to actually like even that one person is listening to my music. That's completely insane.
So you made that record for yourself originally, did you? Vaporwave for China?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, I just put it on SoundCloud, basically.
Nice.
And
with that little backstory, like the kind of sort of fictional yarn about the finding the tape in the...
Not even that.
Okay.
I mean, it was just like the tracks.
Okay. That was a Bandcamp thing and like a vinyl thing, was it? It was like, I found this tape in a Chinese market, blah, blah, blah.
No, that story came like very late. So it's like even after we made like the remaster, and I was just like, okay, let's try to make this interesting instead of just having like some random guy sitting in his room and just sitting by the piano or like the Ableton thing. So it's quite a boring story, but.
No, so I didn't really finish saying what the full... Actually, I did.
Yeah.
Cut. Oh, man. But yeah, I'm going to keep plugging away at my theory, or sort of Leonard as kind of Vaporwave Nostradamus, like predicting future trends. I think, I think you've got a good eye for future trends. So if you play the lottery, like maybe ask Leonard like what the lottery numbers are going to be, because I think you can kind of see into the future, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
What do you want to know?
Yeah, the lottery numbers. But yeah, I just that like I think that kind of aesthetic on some of the tracks on Vaporwave for China sound to me a lot like what people like Ron Breaker and Macro Blank and those kind of barbara beats people are doing now. This kind of like down tempo, you know, kind of.
Wow.
That's what I hear to my ears. But I also hear you doing. I think just on the one track on Vaporwave for China, but because like you kind of leaned into the video game thing, right? Because there's the Virtual Racing 99 track, which has got like those kind of menu music, Gran Turismo, kind of vibes, which are everywhere in our music scene now, and like all over kind of TikTok and stuff. Like the kind of generation younger than us, like they're really excited by that kind of lo-fi house, like melodic lo-fi house kind of thing.
Really?
I guess that's what. Yeah, huge on social media. I think because it's like I don't know, like they're kind of a generation, like a kind of COVID generation who they like dance music and club music, but they missed out on a couple of years of clubbing, right? So like they got their dance music via video games, and dance music in video games tends to be more melodic, right? Because you're hearing it on smaller systems, so the drums and the bass aren't as loud, and you kind of need something. You need something else there, right? And they tend to be written by like quite trained composers, like Ryuichi Sakamoto, who made the Dreamcast jingle.
Really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I only found that out recently. But yeah, like we've chatted about Soichi Terada with Pizza Hotline. Like he's a massive influence on Pizza Hotline, and this kind of crossover between being like a club DJ and a video game composer. Like often it's like the same person. I think you kind of struck on something there for sure. Like this kind of that's an aesthetic that does seem to be everywhere now. And everybody seems to be making like PlayStation versions of their logo, and like releasing physicals in kind of PlayStation boxes and stuff.
Oh, really?
It's like a moment, right? We've reached like the right time in the cycle for people to start getting nostalgic for that.
Yeah.
So you were a PlayStation guy, you were saying up there, right?
Yeah.
PS1 guy.
Absolutely, yes. And
did you play those kind of racing games?
We had this, I don't know what it was called, but it was like a motorcycle game.
Yeah.
But we only had like the demo. So the thing was, so since my family didn't have that much money, so we had like a big case of just like the demo versions of everything, and you basically got those for free. Yeah. So we just play like all these different demos.
Nice.
Back in those days.
Yeah.
And
that's so Vaporwave, the idea of the demo disc, right?
Yeah, right.
I know that Shirobon, who's kind of in our music world and makes video game music and synthwave and stuff. I know that they've done some work with somebody who used to work on the kind of OG PlayStation demo discs. Like there's something really cool about that, like the incomplete version of the game, the kind of taster, the trailer, the teaser. He made Shirobon made a record with this guy Jason Page, who did music on like the PlayStation magazine demo discs back in the day. So I'm looking at it now. So he did the demo discs on Gran Turismo and Cool Borders 2 and stuff like that.
Wow.
So yeah, check that out. We should tag it in the thing. Shirobon and Jason Page. It's called Haunted PS1 Demo Disc Spectral Mall. Very cool.
I have to check that out.
Yeah. I think we've shouted this out before, but also like if you're a producer, get on Shirobon's Bandcamp page and buy his. He made some convolution reverbs of like the onboard reverb from the PlayStation unit. So if you want to run your tracks through like the OG PlayStation reverb, you can do that, which is very cool.
Oh, I'm gonna try it out.
Yeah. That's cool. Another thing that I really like about Vaporwave for China is that it's got some kind of more up-tempo tracks, which are kind of future funky. And I think what you do is kind of closer to the kind of like fun, kind of deep house, lo-fi house stuff that I like from like Swedish musicians like Honey.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about that before.
Did we? Yeah.
He's one of my favorite producers. Like this kind of fun, sampledelic, kind of nostalgic, 90s style, very well produced, like nice kind of tempo, nice grooves and stuff. I've always thought he's a fantastic producer, and like the tracks on your record, like Going Too Rough and Paula Jones as well.
Yeah.
They kind of remind me of this kind of just like really fun, euphoric dance music. Well, is Paula Jones is somebody who accused Bill Clinton of.
Yeah.
Okay, right. I was like trying to think. I had to look her up earlier. I was like, oh man, is this a reference I'm not getting? So kind of like Monica Lewinsky, like the less famous Monica Lewinsky.
Pretty much, yes.
Wow.
And I wanted it to be like somebody sees the track and just goes like, okay, is that some model? Is that what is going on over here? And then it's like, okay, shit.
It works on levels, right? Because it's quite a generic name.
Very much so.
So it could be anybody.
Absolutely.
Like, you might know a Paula Jones, but like if you know, you know, and that's such a 90s reference as well, like this kind of spectre, like a ghost of your childhood. It's like these kind of figures. I guess we're living through a very similar era now. Like Paula Jones, like maybe there's a producer who's a young producer now is going to make a track called like Stormy Daniels or something, you know?
Yeah, I do believe that.
That's cool. So like onto your second record, like your more recent record, Peak Internet. So we've talked about the cover, which is kind of a reference to a reference to Sakamoto.
Yes.
I think there's loads of stuff on this, and I think I've talked about your range before. I know I'm going to say blowing smoke up your ass. I feel like that might not be an expression in Sweden.
Oh, no. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I have no idea what you mean right now.
Blowing smoke up somebody's ass means... it's not an expression in American either, I'm sure. So I'm going to need to translate for everyone. It means that I'm just giving you lots of compliments.
Okay.
Yeah. But like there's like even more range on this. So like you can hear stuff like you're like influenced from bossa nova. Yeah. It's like I saw you playing guitar earlier, and like you clearly like you know your bossa chords and stuff, and there's something about that kind of atmosphere and feel and mood which translates to electronic music really well as well, because it's kind of gently sophisticated and it's calm and breezy. Like you can experience it on different levels, right?
Yeah.
You know, people say about Girl from Ipanema, they're like, oh, it's just elevator music. Like that's like an insult, right? But it's like, and then you look at it and it's like, whoa, this is like a really beautiful, sophisticated piece of music. I guess that's like Vaporwave and Bossa Nova. There's some similarities there where it's like you can superficially dismiss it.
Yeah.
And be like, oh, this is just like they say, what do you say, music, right? Like this is just like worthless, whatever. But then you dig down and there's like actually like a lot of love and craft that's gone into a lot of this stuff.
Very much.
Maybe there's some low effort bossa nova out there as well, but
probably. But there's some really like good one as well. Like it's very, very good.
Nice. So I hear like bossa nova in there for sure. There's just like more songwriting. Like we're hearing more of your voice. Like I think that's like something that's happened in Vaporwave. Like you know, people kind of shit on George Clanton for writing songs and singing. People are used to kind of samples and instrumentals.
Yeah.
To kind of introduce the voice is like a brave thing to do. But why is it a brave thing to do?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. You're already making the music.
Yeah.
So why don't you try and sing?
Yeah.
Like I would encourage anyone who's making music to try and sing on your songs.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's obviously really cool if you got something to say and then you have to find a sample to do it for you, or you have to kind of build a vocal out of samples and stuff. It's like, if you've got a brief idea in your head and you just have to get it down, just record it yourself.
Yeah, and especially if you have a message. I think a lot of the things that when you're actually singing on a record, you kind of have like a story behind it, no? Mm-hmm. And I think the story behind that track was me being on a party, and I did like a what do you call it? Like an overdose.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's this? Sun Goes Down?
No.
Which song?
What is it called again? I don't remember.
You wrote the record. Oh man. One of the other songs. Do I need to get the peak internet track listing up?
Yeah.
For your own album? Oh, dearie me.
My mind is blowing what do you call it? Like drawing a blank. It's the Bossa song. It's
the one that I'm on as well.
Yes.
Overdose.
Yes. Oh, it's even called Overdose.
Oh man. Well, we're both equally culpable for that one.
Wow. I even
funny.
said the name.
Yeah. Yeah. The track about an overdose. Yep. Wow.
Yeah. So it's kind of obvious what its message is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's some quite like personal and quite confessional stuff on this record.
Yeah. I mean, it's just explaining the experience. It was kind of a weird experience.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I mean, the record's called Peak Internet. Like some of it's about offline experiences like that for sure. But like there's other things about like your experience of kind of being raised by the internet, I guess. Around the studio, I've got a bunch of my Wichita LimeWire albums and stuff, and we were talking about growing up in this kind of Wild West internet era where we saw like stuff that we weren't supposed to see, right?
Yeah.
Is there a bit of that in Peak Internet? Is it like celebratory, or like are you celebrating the internet, or are you kind of discussing some of the kind of more negative aspects of kind of growing up inside a computer?
I mean, it also has the influence, but I think the most influenced track from exactly what you're explaining is Flight.
Okay.
So Flight,
And that's track 1 as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you can basically, I guess it has two meanings.
Yeah.
So flight can be you're flying, right?
Yeah.
But it can also be running.
Running away, yeah.
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 And
I like that.
it has the meaning of running away.
Okay.
Running away into the computer.
I like that.
Yeah. And basically what it's about is that my mom at one point met this guy who was very physical.
Okay.
So at that point, just to fly away or run away into the internet, basically.
That was an escape for you as a kid.
Yes, very
Yeah.
much. And
Okay. And
I
you probably escaped to some positive places, but also maybe to some negative places on the internet.
Yeah, mainly positive.
That's
I would
good.
say. Yeah,
Yeah. The blurb of Peak Internet is quite celebratory, isn't it?
absolutely. Yeah,
And you talk about the glory days of the internet. So by assumption, the internet of today is something that kind of scares you a little bit, or makes you kind of concerned, like the way the internet is now.
I mean, it's just the evolution of things, and I think as we grow older, things will evolve, and we will kind of feel like things are evolving beyond our own comprehension, basically.
Yeah.
And I was speaking with my friend today about this, that the ChatGPT, for example, and he was talking about like ChatGPT 4, and that there's like new versions coming out. And
Okay.
I'm like a little bit scared at the same time as I'm like, okay, this is going to be the future. This is like how it was in the 90s when they, or in the 80s maybe, when they introduced the internet and people were actually going to use it.
Yeah.
So
Like a huge leap.
Yeah.
Huge leap into the unknown.
For sure.
Yeah, and it'll be probably my child's generation who has like a native understanding of it, and I'll be the one who's kind of out of touch with
Exactly.
expecting things to work the way they used to, but they'll have this kind of inbuilt understanding of how things like AI work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we
It's
have no
alien tech to
comprehensions
us.
of it.
It's kind of relevant to Sakamoto stuff, but like I think one of the kind of sounds in Peak Internet, which is a really cool thing that you lean into, is this kind of like Japanese art pop kind of stuff, like this 80s art pop stuff, which like Sakamoto definitely did on his solo work. Obviously, like Hosono as well, other members of Yellow Magic Orchestra. I think you showed me Drip Dry Eyes. I think that's a song you really like. That's by Yukihiro Takahashi, who's the drummer in YMO.
Yes.
This very cool, I guess it's kind of related to city pop, which like city pop's like massive, now, like it's obviously sample source for Vaporwavers and Future Funkers, but like just listening to and dancing for its own merits. But I think just like at the same time, not on the dance floor, but on posh stereos, nice home stereos, people were listening to this very urbane, slick, clever art pop from YMO solo members and and then kind of affiliates in the West as well, so like David Sylvian and the band Japan and stuff. Very, very cool, using the kind of new tech. I think like Sakamoto was amongst the first to use an 808.
Oh really?
And just incorporating like 80s kind of studio techniques into this very kind of clever songwriting, and I feel like you're referencing that on a few of the tracks.
So can I ask you a question here?
Yeah.
So what do you think would be like the future of music? Because in those times they were exploring like the unknown, like they were at the avant-garde or whatever you would say. They were like the before everybody else, and they're exploring like the new technology. So what would you say for current times? Like, what's the new technology?
I think that's
music?
a really good question, because actually, like there's like people who are celebrated for doing like kind of cool, innovative hipster stuff, but like they're just referencing that era. So like I'm thinking about something like Kate Envy or Phil Gerris. Like, they're like, oh god, that was like a really cool era. In kind of music making. But you're right, they were using the newest stuff. I guess like things like 100 Gex or something like that, like kind of super hyper pop where it's just like kids like abusing the hell out of like what DAWs and plugins can do. I guess that's kind of at the forefront of things. Like, they just use what's inside the box. Like why would you use anything else?
Yeah.
So like maybe that's kind of quite future looking. But a lot of hyperpop is quite nostalgic as well, isn't it? Because it looks back to sort of 90s trance and like cheesy stuff from our youth, whatever, like happy hardcore and trance and like pop dance stuff.
Yeah, and that's what I think is basically what Vaporwave is now, because we're kind of like we have all these super talented musicians, right? Who we're trying to find something that is new. Yeah. But there's nothing else to do, so we're just recycling the old things.
I guess people have always looked backwards to look forwards, though.
Yeah.
So, for example, because like on that kind of groundbreaking YMO stuff, like there's some things, there's melodies that sound like ancient folk melodies, or they cover Day Tripper, like an old song, or they cover like old R&B songs like Tighten Up. I'm trying to think. There's that city pop record where they just like randomly. By Naomi Akimoto. And on that city pop album, like there's this really weird cover of Tennessee Waltz, which is like an old country song. And it's like done by like chopping the vocals to absolute shit on the Fairlight sampler and stuff.
Really?
So like that, it was so futuristic sounding, but it's a country song written in the 40s.
Yeah.
And I think like people have always looked back to look forward Like if we listen to music and we're like, whoa, that must have sounded so futuristic. But like there's recognizable elements of like past forms, right? Like how much music do we listen to where it's just like every element is like brand new and shocking?
Very little.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Yeah, it was like some kind of like post-war classical music was like that, whereas like they'd experienced the horrors of war, and it's like, it's that thing. It's like like how do you write kind of beautiful music in C major after like the horrors of war? We need to like rip everything up and start again and make music that reflects the kind of horrors of that. So like everything's new from the ground up again. But like that's not pop. Stuff like Stockhausen and stuff like that. That's not popular music. That's very, very kind of studied academic music where they can afford to just be like, they're like literally experimenting with equipment that wasn't designed to make music. Yeah. And making new things with that. And then, musicians like the Beatles would translate those sounds into pop music. We're working in like an underground music world, but like we're kind of broadly engaged with popular music, right? Like
kind of, yeah.
We're not in academic institutions and stuff, and we're not in concert halls, are we?
No.
So like there's always kind of recognizable formal elements of what people in our musical world do. And there's things which are brand new, like production techniques, and there are some things which are kind of recycled.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a bad thing. I think there are
no.
But I think you're right. Like we're in like quite a nostalgic moment, and like it's like pop music's kind of eating itself a little bit.
Yeah.
Like for example, like something that was quite fresh and new sounding was like British like grime and drill music. But they've started like the hooks on all these drill songs, like it's got way more popular as a genre, but the hooks are always like hits, like sampled hits from the 90s and stuff. Yeah. There's like one with like a hook from Butterfly by Crazy Town.
Really?
And there's like one with a hit from Let Me Blow Your Mind by Eve and stuff. That's on a Central C song. And it's like, that's nostalgia bait, isn't it? It's like, we're just going to take a hook from an old song that was already popular. And that's kind of like the TikTokification of music, isn't it?
Yeah. And also because it's hard to write something that is new that people will like.
Yeah.
You know, because you kind of have to market that in a way.
Yeah, it's better business sense to sample something that's already popular, give them that % of it, and it's like, okay, I've got a guaranteed hit or guaranteed plays on social media myself. You know, even if I don't get 100% of my royalties.
Yeah, and it's the same as if you're a DJ, for example. Yeah. It people would like it more if you're playing like, okay, it depends on the crowd, of course, but people would like it more if you're playing like Britney Spears songs rather than if you're playing something underground that nobody's never heard before, because they are kind of recognizing the music. They'll be like, oh, yeah, I know this song.
Yeah. Well, we live in difficult times, and familiarity or like familiar music and culture is always a crutch in difficult times, isn't it? But, you know, there's obviously like experimental and challenging music that kind of reflects kind of hardship or like seeks to kind of challenge authority and stuff as well. Yeah. And like both of those things coexist in our music world, and both of those probably coexist in our discographies. We probably both got like tunes which are angry or critical, and we probably got tunes which are like feel good and stuff, because like you can't be angry the whole time. No. And you probably shouldn't be happy the whole time as well. People who are happy the whole time, like, there's probably something going on there, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Reflecting the sort of diversity of
but it looks like that because you're on social media as me. You always see like the best sides of people, so
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Social media is something that you largely stay off, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends also on the service, of course, but yeah.
I think that's for the best.
It's just very time consuming. That's the big issue, I think.
It's really nice. Like the best aspects of it are invaluable, like interacting with the community and being able to kind of advertise your music that you've worked hard on. Those are nice things, but like just doom scrolling and the algorithm kind of serving you up warm poop.
Yes,
it's not so good. So yeah, well done for staying out of that.
Yeah, but it's because I can, of course. Mm-hmm. Like I don't have to market my music. I don't have to do like all of these different things.
Yeah. Maybe the mystique helps. So as maybe a bit mean of me to kind of drag you out to kind of demystify XWAVES. You know?
I mean, that's fine. It's.
I mean, you showed your face on the record, like that was kind of like a sort of coming out moment, I guess. I know you're kind of heavily made up and disguised, but like, I guess that's reflective of where Vaporwave is at now, is that you're showing your face and you're singing.
Yeah.
It's not everything has to be anonymous. Not everything has to be sample based. It's nice, like putting a bit more of yourself out there, but like controlling your narrative and controlling what you reveal and what you preserve as kind of mystique.
Yeah, I don't know if it's music. Like, how much more do people want to know?
Your shoe size. Oh man! Final little thing of Leonard's Nostradamus. I really like how there's two versions of Sun Goes Down on the record, like one kind of very sped and one au naturel. So that's like a closing track or a bonus track, is it? Like the kind of original version?
It's a bonus.
Yeah. it's really nice to hear that, and like hearing that in that form, it's got this kind of ravey vaporwave kind of thing, what people call vapor zero. I guess not dissimilar to what's on your first record with this virtual racing kind of thing. This kind of warp speed, like fast kind of breaksy kind of thing. That's really having a moment right now. Like George Clanton does similar as well. It's something very cool. I think that's like a sound of our childhood. It's a sound of music that's coming out now. Like I listen to Six Music here, which is like a BBC station, but plays like kind of more alternative music, and like there's so much kind of jungly, breaksy kind of stuff, but melodic.
Yeah,
and that's something that's happening at the moment. It's something that people really like. You can kind of dance to it, you can sing to it. It's really fun music. It's nice to hear you doing that kind of thing.
Yeah,
we've been making a tune before we started recording this. We were making some music, and it's kind of in that vein.
Yeah,
I would say. So yeah, you may well see some more XWAVES times Donor Lens music
for sure.
Yeah, maybe your first single.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, good for the algorithm.
Yeah,
cool. Other than that, what have you got? Any ideas? What's next? Have you got things in the works?
I mean, I'm working on some stuff. Absolutely, yeah. But generally, I'm like the music that I'm making. It's not because I'm a musician in a way. It's more that I'm a person who likes to listen to like crazy ass music.
Yeah.
So I'm just finding like music, and then I'm trying to remake it.
You're making what you want to hear.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I want to hear it too.
Yeah, that's a good compliment.
Put it out, bro. No. Oh man, thanks so much for giving up your time. Thanks so much for coming here. It's so much nicer to do this in person rather than on Zoom.
Yeah.
I hope it's more enjoyable for you listening at home as well. All right. Peace out. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
That was a very soft fist bump. I'm not sure our mics picked it up. I might have to put like a sound.
Right. You have to do like the explosion.
That makes sense.
If you're part of the 5%ers who are hanging on here for dear life right to the very end to hear my voice one more time, let me just drop the, the link in the socials for the Future Sounds event. So if you are London based or in the south, in England, in Europe, we get people from all over Europe. You're welcome. Everyone's welcome. Yeah, we had Germans with us. We had loads of people come over from Spain. So we have got a show, Miami 89, with Futurecop and Morgan Willis, New Arcades and Iverson. Tickets are on sale now via Eventbrite, and you can find the link in our social search, FutureSounds FM on Instagram and on Twitter, and of course on the MPF and Time State Recordings channels we'll be pushing it to.
future-sounds.uk/tickets.
That's future-sounds.uk/tickets.
Whoosh, 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 whoosh.
Oh, Future Sounds.